Hey guys, welcome back to Blunt Blowin Mama podcast. I am here and I'm talking about something that you guys love talking about, which is astrology and weed. So I feel like I should just call this episode the astrology and weed episode because one thing stoners love is astrology and the stars and universe and anything hippy dippy. We're into it and with good reason because when you're high, that shit hits a little harder when you're high anyway. So I have one of my favorite astrologers here and I follow her and you've probably seen her in hella places. You're everywhere. Low key, you've been in a lot of places. You've been featured in a lot of cool places. You have your own podcast now. And you're dope. And Kirah, I just want you to introduce yourself. Say hello to the community. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yay, I'm so happy to be here. This is so awesome. Hello, community. Can't wait to spark up.
Yes. Introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Kirah Tabourn. I'm an astrologer. I've been practicing for a little over a decade now. And my practice is primarily rooted in the Hellenistic tradition. So I say I'm a traditional astrologer, which basically means most of the astrology you encounter online or just out in the world is primarily modern astrology. Which was developed about within the past 100 years. I'm working with astrology that was developed about 2,000 years ago. So it's it's the roots basically of the system. And I'm kind of obsessed with that. And yeah, I do a lot of client consulting, business consulting. Right now I'm working on an astrology dating app.
What?
So yeah, I'm excited
I
about
love
that. Yeah. And I have my podcast. Yeah. I'm hesitant to say the name because I'm in the middle of changing the name.
I saw the post and I was like, well, she is not about to change the name of her podcast.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be changed. I don't know when I'm changing it versus when this is coming out. But
yeah.
Right now it's called Cosmic Guidance for All. It's going to be called Astrology That Hits.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Astrology That Hits.
It's the name of my kind of signature program. So I'm just it's the podcast name now.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. I actually really like that. Okay. So stick with that one.
Yeah. It's definitely happening. It's happening. It's just about when I have time to do the whole rebrand.
It's a whole process.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. That's why I'm when I pick this name, this is going to be the name.
Yeah.
Forever. I'm never changing this shit because you got to do the whole. Anyways, you guys aren't here for branding and everything for podcasts,
small businesses.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a thing. So okay, we met on Clubhouse.
We did
in 2020, in the thick of lockdown. Yeah, especially since LA was the first one shut her down, and we were just wait, and everybody else is we outside.
I know.
We're
it's totally it was over the holidays, especially November, December of 2020, we were just on that app every day, all day.
For hours. Yes. People falling asleep on it. And we met on Clubhouse in this smoker room where basically
ASMR blunt sounds.
ASMR blunt sounds. And I saw that room and I was that sounds like somewhere I need to be.
It was the most, because there wasn't even any targeted, there wasn't an algorithm back then. But for somehow we all came together, and so many of us in LA too. Yeah. It just happened to happen that way.
And now we're all real life, we talk or
Kelly was doing my hair for forever before. What? Yeah, Kelly was doing my hair for a year and a half.
So Kelly's someone else we met in the Clubhouse room.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we met I met Roger on there. Who's Ganja Guru, you guys know on Instagram. And so it's been really cool to continue offline and not just leave it there. And to say we met on social media is just so millennial.
It is so millennial. I mean, half my friends I met on Twitter. So
yeah. I mean, yes, this is true. I mean, I met my baby daddy on a dating app. So millennials are definitely not outside in the way that people think that we're outside. But
we're more outside than Gen Z.
Yeah.
I think
Gen Z's kind of weird. I mean, but they did eat those Tide Pods. We love them babies. We love them babies. We love them. We're not gonna never let them live that down. I'm come on, y'all ate Tide Pods. Damn. Yeah. Now they're about to be politicians and shit. I'm scared.
No,
our teachers. Anyways, digression. let's get into it. I mean,
Sure.
where should we start? I feel so you were just looking at my chart before we
Yeah.
started. She did the whole thing. She's like, "When's your birthday? What
Well,
time?"
yeah, the time is so important, and you don't know the
And I don't know
time.
the time I was born, you guys, because I was born in Mississippi. And should I say anything else? Like, I was born in Mississippi, and like that's enough. So I
They
don't
don't
have it. My
record
mom
it.
doesn't know. Obviously, my mom doesn't know. Like,
Well, it's one thing if you're like, "Oh, she doesn't know." It's another thing if you're like, "Well, she knows I was born in the morning or in these, like, 6 hours," because we can kinda
yeah,
narrow it down from there.
yeah.
That even that is helpful to know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and there's the whole process called rectification. If you ever did wanted to, like, go into it with an astrologer, I don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some astrologers who will rectify your chart and basically try to figure out the most likely time.
Really?
Yeah,
How is
based
that?
on
Like, how do you go about
they
that?
basically, like, ask you a lot of questions about your life and, like,
Mm-hmm.
basically timing of certain life events and sort of, like, go backwards to
What?
see what makes the most sense.
What is it accurate? Like, is it? Do
I
you
mean, if you
feel?
don't know the time, it's like you can't really check it off of
That's true. It's
anything.
like, all right, I'm gonna rock with this. Like, I don't
But a
know.
lot of people, yeah, a lot of people use rectified charts, and
Really?
yeah,
I'm just gonna contact the hospital I was born at and be like, "You guys got another
see if
birth
they have
certificate."
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got
who
to be something. But
knows?
you did say something that I felt was quite accurate, which is that there's probably some Scorpio in my chart, and I was like, yeah, because
As a Scorpio, I mean, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart, and I usually can tell when
mm-hmm,
someone has some Scorpio. And I would put money on you either being Scorpio rising or a Sag rising.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to tell sometimes, but yeah, I would have to ask you more questions, I
You definitely
think.
she was y'all. I feel like we should have the camera rolling because you were like, so your baby daddy, like he's an Aquarius. I was like, yeah. You're like,
No, it
so
was like
you
checking when to see your kids' birthdays
yes, you
were
checked my kids' birthdays.
because I was gonna see if one of them was a Pisces
Mm-hmm.
because
Which one
yeah.
is a Pisces?
Yeah,
And
so
yeah,
that's like a check in the Scorpio rising column.
how I don't
And also you
know.
look good in red. And so if you're a Scorpio rising, you would be ruled by your Mars and Aries. You have this Mars and
Mm,
Aries, which is very strong Mars because it rules Aries and Scorpio.
mhm.
And Mars is associated with red. You have red on, you have red lipstick.
It's true.
Yeah.
I do love a good red lip and a
Yeah.
red dress, a red
Yeah. And you have like
situation.
the pinkish glass. Like
Yeah.
that's another like check in the Scorpio
I didn't even
rising.
pick these. Like the person in the eye place picked it and they were just like, this is
Really?
gonna look good on you. And I was like, stop trying to tell me. And I was like, ooh, this does look good on me. I've never done this color before. She was like, see?
Yeah, I
I was
love
like, cut
it.
it out. But also like going with it. Like, so yeah, and you were just like, you guys probably had problems in the past 2 or 3 years. And I was like,
Yeah.
already we're like 5 minutes in and she's already like knows everything. But like it's true. And how much truth is in like astrology? Like, do you have to be a believer like to like really believe it, or like i guess
Yeah.
i guess in some sense you have to at least be curious to seek it out. And
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it is it's not a belief system. There's
yeah.
nothing to believe in.
Mhm.
It's literally like the planets are doing their thing.
Mhm.
We're observing it, tracking it, seeing like tracking patterns basically.
Right.
And so you can be totally like secular atheist and be an astrologer
Mm.
and use astrology because it really is just like time tracking system. There obviously is a whole element of belief that can go with it, and I think most people who do practice have some sort of like spiritual connection
Mhm.
to it or something like that. I certainly do. And it can get it that can like extend all the way to literally like practicing astrological magic and like really communing with the date like the planets and all the things,
Mhm.
which a lot of my friends practice. But yeah, I in terms of belief, it's like um there's a lot of people who say they don't believe in it, but it's really that they've never seen it work, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
they might think, well, yeah, I'm a Taurus, but I'm not lazy, so it doesn't
It's
so
like, yeah, that's the stereotype of
right, like
Taurus.
but and it's like, yeah, sure. Of course not everyone in the universe fits into these only 12,
Mm-hmm.
buckets. But it goes so much deeper than that, and it's so much more than that. And most people don't take the time to explore what's, beyond the surface level of astrology, which
Mm-hmm.
fine. But but that's, I think, once you are aware of like what it can do, or what like the type of what the tool is, and like what we're doing with it, it's most people come around to understanding it and accepting it, and maybe even quote unquote believing.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I feel like every single person that's gotten close to me in my life that kind of poo-pooed it before is just sort of like, oh yeah, I totally like see it work now. So
Yeah, it's just like, I guess, being exposed to it in the right way, and like being
yeah.
like making it more accessible. Like, it's accessible. Like, you can go to like CoStar or like
Boo.
all these places, and you can get these, and you can be like, okay, but like it definitely goes deeper than CoStar, and
Yeah,
like, and I feel like that's where you can really get like the meat and potatoes of it, and really like dig in and be like, oh
exactly.
yeah, like, is it, I feel like it's like a guide, almost kind of like a tool, like having like cannabis as a tool, like that's like a tool you could use to
Mhm.
kind of like do work on oneself, but
Mhm.
also like kind of chart a path forward in a way, like
Absolutely, yeah.
that's kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's I always say it's the greatest tool
Mhm.
I think that exists.
Mhm.
Because you can use it in like an infinite amount of ways. And yeah, I mean, that's why I'm obsessed with it.
Yes. Do you use it for like, so I had a landlord once, and like he, like, we submitted our applications and everything, like me and Jared at the time, and then he was also like, okay, so what's your sign? He has both of
Mm,
us. And I was just like, why did he
interesting.
ask our signs? And
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, maybe. And he's like this West Indian guy. So I let them call, like,
Okay.
oh, like maybe he thought like certain types of signs are better tenants than other types of
Right.
signs. And I was like a Virgo. And he was like, okay.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're gonna be clean. It's
You're gonna be
fine.
great. You're not gonna fuck up my apartment. And then he's like, I'm Aquarius. He was like, It's like, but we have the Virgo here. So,
Yeah.
but I found that
Wow.
interesting. I'm just like, even with employers, like I've read things like employers like prefer certain signs over others for like
Yeah.
their employees. And I'm just like, is this a real thing? Are people really discriminating?
I mean, they shouldn't be, because that's like a terrible way to go about
Yes.
it. I mean, if you're just gonna go by the sun sign, that's
Hmm.
that's like that's basically not telling you much at all. That's like
Hmm.
telling me like you have blue eyes, or like
Hmm.
you like to, go for a run in the mornings. Like it's not really telling me that much about you. It's telling me a certain like a great amount, but for me, like knowing how complex it can be, it's
Hmm.
like that's not a really great way to
Mm.
discriminate against people, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I think that's unethical.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Very much so.
yeah.
So
Denying housing potentially because
over your
someone's
zodiac sign, you guys.
yeah,
But it's a
that's
real,
not
like,
good.
people do kind of take that into consideration, and
They
it's
do,
very
yeah.
interesting, like how much it can weigh heavily over other things for some
Mhm.
people, like to the point where people are like, I don't date this sign. I
Right. Well,
won't
I
do
do
it.
that.
Well, okay, so it's a little, is it
But
ethical for dating but not for housing?
for me personally, I think I have a very, very highly informed opinion when it
Mhm.
comes to dating,
Mhm.
specifically because I have been dating for the past 10 years, and I've been doing astrology. Been dating for longer than 10 years, but I've been doing astrology while dating for the past
Mhm.
10 years. And I just know my chart. I know me,
Mhm.
and I know what works,
Mhm.
what I know absolutely what doesn't work. And so
Mm.
that's in ways I'll discriminate, not in a way where I'll be like, fuck you or something, or like
You friend zone
mean.
them automatically, like,
But
oh.
it's just like I know like this probably isn't gonna go anywhere because I know I can't.
Mhm.
That's an energy that doesn't mesh with me.
Mhm.
And it's for me, I think other people do the same thing in terms of, their dating. It's just I have these like this data with me that's like kind of hard facts
Mm.
about like whenever I'm in a relationship with someone with a Libra moon, like this happens and it's not good. It's not anything about Libra moons
Mhm.
that's bad. It's just the way it interacts with me and my chart.
Mhm.
not really conducive for a long-term relationship.
Oh, that makes sense. So maybe it is something to this. Like maybe
I think so.
I
I
need to
think it's
figure
just
out
like
some stuff. I
you
need
got
to
to be more informed about it. And
Mhm.
it's not like if I look at your chart, I'm going to suggest like certain people,
Mhm.
certain signs, even to date, certain types of placements, as opposed to just saying like the kind of stereotypical, like, oh, you're a Virgo, so go with the Taurus. I actually do
Mhm.
think Taurus might be good, but besides the point. It's not just it's for a reason. I can like show my notes, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
So yeah,
That's so interesting. I mean, I think it even gets like to the point of like business partners and like who you're like anybody
absolutely.
you're spending like a lot of time with. It's just like, okay,
Mhm.
maybe you need to like dig a little deeper here and make sure like the energies are meshing. Some
Yeah.
people have really good intuition and like their antenna will pick up without even knowing this stuff and they'll just be like, oh, this energy doesn't mix and they can't say why.
Mhm.
And then like you get this extra like astrology information. It's just like, ooh,
Yeah.
I felt it. I knew. Like sometimes you can
Exactly.
feel the vibe. Like the vibe is not right. And you're like, this is not gonna work. Okay, so like
Mhm.
how often should one I feel like once we were talking, you said that you get like readings once a quarter or
Mhm. I receive them.
yes.
Yeah,
How
pretty
often
much.
would like a regular person like should they get readings?
People ask me this all the time. I think it's
Yeah,
such an interesting question because for me, I'm just like, when I feel like it, like and
it's
I tell people that, like, when you feel like it, when
hmm
you're feeling lost, stuck, confused, like needing some sort of guidance, that's the time when you absolutely like, you shouldn't wait because, yeah, but my 6 months isn't,
Yeah.
whatever. But I always tell people, um, at least twice a year, like every 6 months.
Mhm.
I love getting readings around my birthday. I think that's like the best time to get a reading.
Mhm.
And I love giving birthday readings.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I usually do around like my birthday and then like 6 months ish
Mhm.
out from there, give or take.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then, but again, whenever you need it.
Yeah, I feel like people are always looking for like,
Mhm.
what's the rule? Like,
Yeah.
what's the best way to do this? Like, am I
Virgo.
doing it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? I just need to give me the guidebook, give me the instruction manual. So, like, okay, so I think that's really good to know. Would you like recommend, like, there are people who are, you know what? Okay, let me back up because you said co-star and I said co-star and you said yuck. So like what what sites should people be going to like or who or should it be
Yeah.
like individuals instead of like big platforms like that? Do the like is there any accuracy with those big ass
Yeah, for
platforms or
sure. I mean, we're all using the same, I say we, because this is my second app that I've worked on, and
Mhm.
I'm, I guess, a woman in tech, a woman in astro tech. But yeah, we basically are using all the same data
Mhm.
from NASA. So yeah, it's usually pretty accurate. But I mean, there's been plenty of times where CoStar hasn't been accurate, giving
Mhm.
people the wrong rising or moon sign, but
Mhm.
they probably have it's probably better by now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say I well, I always tell people to go to astro.com. That's my favorite free site.
Mhm.
Astro.com, it's not the easiest to navigate, but it's also not that difficult. You can
Mhm.
do so much on there for free.
Really?
It's a great site. And then there's astro-seek.com.
Okay.
AstroSeek is another amazing free resource.
Mhm.
Petter, the programmer, the guy who runs the site, it's just really dope. You can just like hit him up on Twitter and
Mhm.
like give suggestions. He's super responsive. It's so cool to be able to like interact with
Yeah.
someone who runs like
To
a
know
big
it's a
site
real
like
person
that.
behind it too,
Yeah,
like
exactly. He's a great guy and really involved in the community. And yeah, I would say those are like websites in terms of apps.
mhm.
Um, the Chani app, Chani Nicholas. She's just I wrote for that app, number one. So I know the people who wrote for it, I know the team behind it, like they're just phenomenal people. And she is one of the only like mainstream astrologers who is a traditional astrologer like
Mhm.
me. So we have the same teachers, same lineage in terms of our education. So yeah, I always highly recommend that app.
Mhm.
And then excuse me, another free app is Time Passages. People tend to really like Time Passages. I have the paid version, but either or is great.
Mhm.
And then finally, excuse me, I'll do a little plug for Luna astrology app, which is what I use, how I pulled up your chart.
Mhm.
And it's not an app, actually. It's a software.
Mhm.
And it's pretty inexpensive for an astrology software. You probably get like a year for like 30 some dollars,
Oh, that's not
$35.
bad. Yeah.
And it's a great software. You can use it on your phone. You know, if you're like into it and you want to be able to like store store charts and like look at solar return charts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always recommend Luna, and I also have a promo code.
Share that promo
So
code.
you can get 10% off your subscription, and it's just Kirah, Kirah, my name. And it's just, Luna astrology. So I like to recommend it. For me, I love it because it's the prettiest,
Mhm.
I'm really
All about
aesthetically
aesthetic,
oriented.
yes.
So for me, I'm like, this just, if it doesn't look nice, my brain is not going to compute,
Yeah.
So I love Luna. So yeah, those are my favorite. And then also, if you just want to like look at your chart, you can just go to my website, kirah.world
Mhm.
slash, I think I just made it my dash chart.
Okay.
And that's just like, if you want to just pull up your chart, you can do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that's so much. I never got you guys, there's something in there for you. And I'm like, I can't wait to run this back and be like, she said this one. And then find which one I like the most. Cause like
I know I need to update I have like a resource list
Mhm.
on my website, but I need to update it because new stuff's always coming out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so good to like have options because I thought it was only CoStar. Like I
No,
didn't,
everyone
whatever
thinks
else
that.
Google pulls up when I
Well, once our app is out there, it's called Stars Align.
Mhm.
You'll be able to look at your chart on there
Mhm.
and not have to open up CoStar.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
goal.
yes. I mean, I love that. Okay, so those are amazing resources. How did you get into astrology? You said like it's been over 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get started?
It's so hard. It's whenever I answer this question, I'm always like, I don't know how to answer that because got into me, like it's like it
Mhm.
came to me. I didn't really go out searching for it at all. But ever since I was a kid, I was really into astrology. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know what sparked it. I think maybe my dad's always been really into space, like,
Mhm.
but I was really into birthdays. Like I knew
Mhm.
everyone's birthday. I took
What?
pride in like knowing everyone's birthday. I just remembered birthdays when I was a kid. And that eventually got into like, the birthday book and learning about, being a Scorpio. And I've had a lot of pride about being a Scorpio since I was really young. And I know that just from remembering back. Like I would like write the Scorpio symbol on things, just like I was kind of obsessed with it. And then fast forward to, I was like 11, 12 when I started like Googling,
Mhm.
about who's most compatible, like what signs are most compatible. And then it wasn't until 10 years ago when I was in college when one of my friends, another Scorpio, was like, hey, did you know that there's like other signs? Like someone told me there's like moon signs. And I was like, what? I need to know about this. And so I remember like Googling it one night and Googling birth chart because she had a book. And that night I found out my moon sign. I was the Aries moon and Pisces rising. So I'm like, I need to know more. And I just remember Googling and pulling up my chart for the first time ever and being like, just my world, like I'll never forget that moment.
Like
Like,
rocked you.
yeah, I was just like, this is it. Like there was just this feeling of like, this is it.
This is what you've been looking for.
Yeah. And I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up. I went through every fucking
Are
page
you
in Google.
serious?
I just was like, I need to know everything. I couldn't stop like
Mhm.
absorbing the information. And that was over 10 years ago. And it's kind of
What?
been like that ever since.
I love that deep passion, like that deep need for
Yeah.
knowing, like, and it being like pleasurable, like
Yeah, it
not
was
feeling like
like,
work.
yeah, it is still is like that. I mean, the work is when it's like, oh, I gotta like chase this invoice and like,
Mm-hmm.
like the admin of running a business. But when it comes to just doing the astrology, it's just like, it's endlessly fascinating.
I love that. What's the connection with like astrology and cannabis? Like,
Yeah. Excuse me.
what's the like, because you're obviously a stoner.
Very much so, yes.
And you're also an astrologer, but like, what's that marriage between the two? Are they like, is there a relationship?
Yeah. I'm like, should we spark up to
Yeah, let's
this?
spark up. Let's spark up because we're talking about it. Like, is there a relationship? Well, I don't
Well,
smoke this weed and I'll tell you.
I don't know if there's a relationship between being a stoner and an astrologer so
Mhm.
much as there. Well, I think I don't know. I don't know what what it is that makes stoners into astrology. I don't know what that
What is
connection
that?
is. I
Is it
think it's
just
just
because
like
like we're so
being
high?
millennial. I think it's just like millennials. We're probably the first generation of like true like stoners, right? Like I'm sure like they had the 70, like the boomers definitely
Mhm.
had their stoners, but we have more
I'm gonna
probably,
take this
especially
gum out because I
women.
forgot to do
Oh
it.
yeah, no worries. But yeah, we have more women stoners, I think, probably than
Yeah.
ever before
But
as a
like we really need
generation.
this shit. Like,
Yeah, I mean, in all sense of the word. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that's a correlation, but what I will say is that I was telling you earlier, I did an episode on my podcast, for a 420 episode with another astrologer about like the astrology of cannabis and like what are some signatures in someone's chart that might make them a stoner. And just looking at your chart already. I mean, there's so many different things,
wait,
but
what makes me a stoner? My
there's
chart.
so I always there was this book that I read. This boy, another Scorpio, we had the same birthday actually. I was in love with this boy.
You guys have the same birthday?
Yeah, and he, oh God, I'm not gonna even. But anyway, he gave me this book by Tom Robbins, Still Life with Woodpecker.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote in the book, and I'm not gonna say the quote because I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's basically about there's like a motif or a theme um in the book about um Camel cigarettes, just smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this quote about why humans smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And basically saying it's like our our need to be close to fire. It's like the only element that we can't, hold and touch and like
Mm.
interact with, and how this is our way to like be close to fire basically.
Ooh, that's so interesting. I never thought about that.
So yeah, it's really stuck with me. Can I
Wow. Yeah. Oh, I don't know why I put it so far away.
It's okay. I think actually I might need it. Is this light?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So that always stuck with me, and when I think about like smokers and people who like to smoke, whether it's weed or cigarettes, because I first started thinking about this in regards to my grandfather who smoked cigarettes his whole life,
Mm-hmm.
died of lung cancer.
Mm.
So he has the same signature that I have in my chart. And I'm like, interesting, because I also am like a big smoker,
Mm-hmm.
not in the same way, but still a big smoker, which is a Sun Mars conjunction, meaning the Sun and Mars were in an alignment when I
Mm.
was born. And same with him. And Mars is connected to the principle of fire and burning, and the harshness of like fire and burning. And so there's that. When there's a strong Mars in a chart, that's like a signature where I'm like, oh yeah, that might be someone who likes to burn, likes to be close to fire, right?
What?
And then also when you just like having a lot of fire energy in the chart.
Mm.
Yeah, so again, I think that you're probably a Scorpio rising. And if that's the case, you would be ruled by your Mars in Aries, which by the way, you were born during a Mars retrograde. I don't know if you know that.
No, I did not. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Um when a planet is retrograde, especially a planet like Mars, because
Mhm.
it retrogrades the least out of all the planets. Only every 2 years it goes retrograde. So we
Okay.
just got out of one at the beginning of this year.
Oh my gosh, was that why it was so hellish?
Yeah, probably.
Oh my gosh, it was but it was good, but it was, like, hellish at
No,
the
but
same time.
Scorpio risings, again, if you are a Scorpio rising, have just had it really rough over the past couple of years.
It's
Like,
been terrible.
yeah, yeah, Scorpio placements in general, but I think especially the Scorpio risings I've been feeling for. But anyway, if you are ruled by Mars, your Mars in Aries, I think that's totally like a signature of, like, being fiery, being close to fire, being like, need to kind of embody the
Oh my
essence.
gosh, like, you're like, literally it's making sense because, like, I can remember since being a kid being fascinated with fire, like,
Doesn't
flicking
surprise me.
flames,
Yeah.
like
You have a Leo moon,
ugh,
which is another fire
that makes
sign.
sense.
And then you were born that the day, which is why I was like hesitant, but I'm pretty sure you have I'm like 99% sure you have your Venus in Leo, because you were born the day that Venus left Cancer and entered Leo. So earlier that morning it was still in
Wow.
Cancer. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you have Venus in Leo, which, by the way, the Venus retrograde this summer is in Leo. So
What does that mean?
is going to be in Leo for 4 months this year, which is really long. Like, usually it's in a sign for like 5-6 weeks. So
Mhm. 4 months is a really long time.
yeah, because it's going to like slow down, stop, go retrograde, go back through Leo, stop again, and then go forward
So
again.
what does that mean for folks like me?
It's, well, I'll say for folks like you, meaning having Venus in Leo,
Uh-huh.
it's hard to say because I want to talk specifically about your chart.
Okay, let's do
Uh,
it.
and we're gonna just go with you being a Scorpio rising, which would mean that Venus is the planet that is responsible for your relationships. Venus rules love and relationships in general, but for Scorpio rising, and we'll just say also for Aries risings, Venus rules the seventh house, which is the house of relationship and partnership.
Okay.
So we would say, like, you or Mars, you're
Mhm.
represented by Mars.
Uh-huh.
And then the other, oh my God, this circle.
Oh my gosh.
The other in your life, any sort of relationship, partnership, whether it's business,
Mhm.
whether it's a best friend, a companion, relation, like, romantic, whatever. Those partnerships would be the opposite sign of Scorpio, your rising sign, which would be Taurus.
Mhm.
And Taurus is ruled by Venus.
My sister's a Taurus.
Are you guys close? Are you guys good at, you guys
We
kind
get
of,
along, but
yeah.
we're not like un
You're not like
we're not
besties.
besties, but we
Yeah.
don't hate each other.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we talk to each other and we talk, but like we don't have to. I don't think our love isn't needy.
Do you think you're similar in a lot of ways?
Yeah, but she's way more headstrong than me, but like
Mm,
silently headstrong. I'm like
yeah.
boisterously
Yeah.
headstrong.
Yeah. That's all the Leo.
Like she won't shut the fuck up while
Yeah.
she's like, I'm not gonna say anything, but you're gonna know.
Yeah.
So our
Yeah.
energy is the same, but we just express it differently.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those relationships would be represented by Venus, and you have your Venus in Leo. And so basically what I would say for you in regards to this retrograde, let me look at where your moon is too. That's right, your moon's at 7. Yeah. Oh, interesting. I just noticed something in your chart. You have this really loud opposition. Can you see that? So that's your Mercury.
Uh-huh.
It's in Libra,
Uh-huh.
and it's exactly opposite your Mars. You see that?
Wow.
Like, you can see how it's at 10 Libra,
Uh-huh.
and your Mars is at 10 Aries. So they're literally like exactly 180 degrees opposite each other in the sky.
That's so interesting.
It is really
What does that
interesting.
mean?
It can mean a lot of things, because it basically what we're looking at here, I'll just kind of zoom out, is this like zoomed out view of you. It's like
Mhm.
your blueprint, basically, because this
Mm.
is essentially a snapshot of the cosmos at the moment you were born, from the perspective of
That's so
where
cool.
you were
And so
on
that's
in the
basically a
world.
birth chart. Like it's
Hmm.
like this is what was happening at the very moment that like you were being born.
Yes, exactly. And from the perspective in that moment in time and space. So, because perspective is everything in astrology. Like what things look like, that's kind of how we get all of our significations from, that's the basis of things, visibility. And so yeah, what that sky looked like at that moment, which is why the time is so important. That blueprint, essentially, it's like when you're born and you breathe your first breath, you that energy becomes encoded in who you are, and you become like this living talisman of that moment.
That's so deep. Oh, sorry, I just felt that. Keep going. I'm like,
Hits
that's
joint.
shit, that's spot on.
So yeah, and like if you were born around this time when Scorpio was the sign that was rising on the east, which is the rising sign or the ascendant sign, it's what's ascending. It has so much to do with your body, your appearance, what you look like. And it's the only place in the chart that is like you, like only you. Everything else in the chart has things to do with your life and people in your life and the things in your life, but the first house, the rising sign, that's you. So yeah, what's rising on the east. And the reason that, again, the time is so important is because that rising sign changes every 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the planets that are rising, like everything that's, kind of moving into that like visible portion of the sky that, rising from the east, that, yeah, that's all gonna like change, and it has so much to do with who you are, your identity, what you look like, your appearance, all of that. So yeah, for you it would have been Scorpio, we think, maybe.
Perhaps. Based on data collected.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Libra either, because yeah, you being ruled by your Venus and Leo. I'm like, I don't know you. I think I don't know you well enough to know if you're more Venus or Mars. But it's interesting. I would have to ask you a lot more questions. But regardless, we'll just say Scorpio rising. This is hitting so nicely.
You like it? It's
Yeah.
by the Weekenders. It's a sativa.
Perfect.
It's really nice. It's a woman-owned brand. Women of color owned brand.
It.
So
it's perfect.
That's why it hits so good.
There you go. But yeah, the reason the rising sign is so important, it's like the most important part of the chart, which, in modern astrology, you wouldn't really know that because it's like, what's your sign? What's your sign? That all started like in the early 19th century or 1900s, I should say. With like one guy kind of made that popular. Before that, was your rising sign was definitely the most important part. Yeah. Like when you read your horoscope, read your rising sign. Don't just read your sun sign. I would say read both, but your rising sign is going to be the most accurate. I always read Pisces rising. But yeah, I was going to say the rising sign is so important because the eastern horizon is where, the sky meets the earth. You could think of that's where heaven meets matter, where your spirit meets your body. So at the time you're born, we want to see what is rising, what's ascending into being, because that is going to have so much to do with like who you are and what you look like. So yeah, it's rising sign's important.
The more you know, guys. All right, so why is this 4-month retrograde?
Oh,
what,
yes,
girl? Are people
sorry.
going to be freaking out for 4 months on Instagram and TikTok? It's like
So
nonstop.
it's only retrograde for 40 days.
Okay.
40 days out of it's just in Leo for 4 months.
Okay.
So it's gonna go retrograde. It's in Leo right now, actually. It's already stirring up some drama.
Yeah, I already felt that. I was like, ooh, somebody's more bitchy. By somebody, I mean me.
so
definitely up in my CBD for sure. I'm like, ooh,
smart. That's smart protocol.
Gotta calm my bitch ass down.
It's gonna slow down and go retrograde on the 22nd of July. So I think it's a Saturday. Yeah, I don't like that whole week, just a heads up.
Why?
So for my podcast, I do weekly forecasts,
Yeah.
and I've just gotten ahead. I was actually writing horoscopes for a summer program that's happening this summer, and I was looking at this time period in July, and it's just like kind of a gnarly week. It's not terrible, but it's not, if you're like looking for some days to just take off and
Take off from work and like
not do
not do
anything, not
anything,
have to deal
cancel
with
plans.
people.
Yeah.
The 20th, like Thursday the 20th, yeah, all the way through, honestly, through Monday. The
Taking some days off
24th.
right now.
Yeah.
Say less. I'm going straight home. I need off.
It's just kind of like not the best energy, but
Mm.
and not just because of Venus going retrograde, it's just I think it's going to feel very like frustrating, sluggish type of energy, and yeah. But regardless, Venus goes retrograde on the 22nd.
Okay.
It's going to be retrograde until September 3rd.
Oh my God, that's right before my birthday.
Well, it's good. It's going to be direct on your birthday.
It's going to drag me. All my birthday plans are going to get dragged. That's what I'm hearing right now. I should start planning now instead of later.
Well, there will be, sorry. There will be a...
oh, you can finish.
There's a Mercury retrograde on your birthday still.
Girl, what? What kind of devil? Why? What did I do?
You know what? It probably happens more often do you think.
What?
Yeah. Like, it probably happens, like, every couple years.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's true. Because like I've had some dud birthdays, and like what an asshole. Like, why is my life?
It's pretty
like
common.
this? But like I'll have other, like, so for instance, I was thinking while on vacation in Europe, I was like, I think these are my best days. I like, it was the most bizarre feeling, but I was like, I need to be so present. I need to smell the air. I need to look at the sky. I need to make a mental photo. Okay. Actual photo. Yeah. Okay. Actual video. Yeah. Because I think I'm going to need to clutch on to this memory. Something just told me in my head, like, you're going to need this memory because you're going to really feel it. And like, you need to be like, but this happened and it's okay. And you were really happy. And like, it's going to go back to that and like have that to ground me because something kept telling me like, girl, like this is your birthday. Like, this is your
when
birthday.
Was that?
That was like, a week ago. I just got back a week ago.
Wow. Where were you?
I was in Marseille, France, in the south of France, living my best life. Then I went to Paris. Nice. And then I went to London and I saw Beyonce and I got this shirt.
Oh, yes. I'm seeing her on her birthday here.
I'm so jealous.
I mean, you got to see her in London.
I mean, and I got the exclusive shirt.
Yeah.
Because London has a problem, guys.
Amazing.
It's sickening. It's a great show. You're going to love it.
So
but I was so present for every... Please just be present. Like, don't take anything. Just go high on life. Like, everybody's so nice. And like, the Beehive is like the best. Yeah. And like, but I felt that and I was like, this is my birthday. Like, I know my birthday's in September, but I was like, this is my birthday. Like, so. Oh,
that's so awesome.
I'm like, I'm using that memory to like ground me, let me know, like, whatever comes, girl. Fuck it. Like, and book a plan far in advance to like treat yourself when you get through that shit. Because I have a feeling some shit's gonna come up and I'm like, all right.
I think, I mean, the Mercury retrograde ends around, I think, on the 15th of September.
Okay.
So I think you'll be fine. I think if you plan something for August or if you plan something for late September, October, but try not to do it try not to travel those first 2 weeks of September. It'll just kind of be a headache.
So it just looks like dinner at home. I'm gonna keep it cute. I'm gonna keep it small.
I mean, yeah, you can do something cute and
intimate. But like,
how old are you turning?
I'm turning 35. I wanted to celebrate.
Oh, don't.
Wait. I really want to do, like, my friend had a whole birthday tour for her birthday. And
for 35?
Yes, and it was so cute.
That's cute.
I mean, like, the weather, like, was crazy, but
35 is a year. How's 34 been for you?
It's been really great.
Yeah?
33 was hell. 32 was hell.
Wait.
I always tell people, get ready for 33, because nobody warned me about 33. They're like, oh, that's your Jesus year. I was like, who? They're like, yeah, Christ was 33 when he died. What?
I call it exposure. I call 35 exposure, or sorry, 33 exposure, because it tends to be very career oriented and sometimes you're like feel kind of thrust into things where you're like,
Yeah, it gets crazy.
fuck, like in the line, like all of a sudden all the lights are on you and you're like, wait, this is a lot.
Yeah, it gets fucking crazy. And you're like, no, mama. No, you don't want this shit.
Yeah.
But you push through, and then like 34 has been really good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so curious about your rising.
31 was like 30, I was pregnant and I was kind of happy.
Okay.
31 was kind of cool too, but it was that 32, 33, man. Like 33.
32, 33.
When as soon as I turned 34, it's like everything got better. I started working out. I started like having a better relationship with cannabis. I started like getting back into church and like praying. Well, not in church, but like watching sermons that resonated with me and praying more, meditating, like being really mindful of my breath.
When was that?
That was last year.
33.
No, and I was 33 going into 34, I guess. You know, I'm no mathematician.
No, sorry. I'm such
my thing.
That's like, if you're around me, that I'm always going to be asking like, when was this? Because I'm always looking at, because I kind of know what was happening, you know. I don't know how I have this type of memory, but astrologically, I can remember what was happening usually. Or I can just do the math because I know like the relative speed of certain planets.
That's insane.
It's annoying. It's just annoying.
That's incredible. That's a gift, first of all. Congratulations.
You're
like, gifted.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I guess.
So
I think
35 is a good year.
35. Well, I wouldn't. I hesitate to talk about your chart because we don't know your time.
Oh my gosh! But just for the people,
I say no. In general, 35 is a year. It's a 12th house year, so 12th house themes come up, and it's basically a year where you're kind of wrapping up a big 12-year cycle. 36, I call like a rebirth type of year. A lot of like renewal.
It's like the year I think Beyonce made Lemonade.
Oh, that would make sense. 35 is sort of it's like, you know, the waning moon phase. It's the dark moon phase. It's the coming into oneself, the wrapping up, letting go. Like it often feels a little bit untethered in ways, 35 or 12th house year. So it's not just 35, it's 23. If you think back to 23. Similar themes.
Oh my god, how did I make it through 23? Oh my gosh,
I feel that way too. Similar themes, but this time you're like, you know, grown, so it's a different situation. But yeah, it happens at 11. It happens at 23. So if you have an 11-year-old,
oh my gosh. Woo, yeah. I'm almost there soon, but I remember my 11th year of life. Okay, it was rough.
That's the first.
That's my first memories of like, dang, life sucks. Yeah, like, damn, I thought this shit was fun, but like this blows.
So it's the 12th house. It's the themes of the 12th house. It's basically, I call it like, okay, so the traditional terms for it is like the house of bad spirit or evil spirit, and what this means is spirit, meaning matters of the mind, or of the spirit, right? Not as opposed to of the body. So, and then bad or evil, you would think things like, oh, like when your mental health is not doing so well, right? It's usually like your own self undoing, those things, that state we get in when, you know, when we're depressed or when we're in our head, when we're like paranoid, when we're ruminating, like when we're in a bad mental health state. It's not always bad. It's also just like where we look at mental health in the chart. So it's not always bad. But it's also a place where we go where we see like retreat or like essentially leaving your normal state of things. That can look like a million things across like a big spectrum, but typically it's a time where you're a little bit detached from your normal like state of that. You're still doing your things, you know, but you know something new's coming and there's a wrapping up, you know what I mean? There's a like, okay. And oftentimes you don't really know what the fuck's going on. You know, but you kind of just, it takes a lot of like faith basically. And just like for me, like astrology like helps so much with this because I can see what's happening. And because the first time this happened to me when I was 23, I was first getting into astrology. Like I always say, like astrology got me through that year because I
Really?
knew I was able to see the end date, of when all this like I was able to pinpoint, and I still do this, pinpoint what my challenges or the pain is just like astrologically, and then I can see, okay, I know when this ends. I know when
It
this
does feel good
planet
to know when you're gonna get through it.
yes, I know when this planet
Just
is
hang
gonna move
on.
on, and so I can get through that, I like it's so helpful for that.
That's so smart. I love that. Okay, so now I need to really find out like what time I was born.
It's I mean
Mama, why? Why was I born in Mississippi? Like why? Why couldn't I be born somewhere?
Was there no one else like around that might have remembered?
No, they're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's another
Yeah, it's an
that's
unsolved
another
mystery.
thing in the chart to look at. Um yeah. Both are you and your parents or just like other people like aunts and stuff?
Grandparents
Grandparents.
and
Any
some aunts, and
aunties,
some
cousins?
uncles.
Yeah.
My dad, my like biological
He
dad.
passed.
When I was pregnant with my daughter.
Oh my god.
Plot twist.
I think you're a Scorpio rising.
Didn't tell
Just
you
you
guys
saying
that story,
that.
did I, on a podcast?
Wow. And you were born during eclipse season.
What?
Yeah.
That's pretty
So like
cool.
a day or two, about 2 days after you were born, there would have been a solar eclipse.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Would you say I guess I'll ask you this question to try to deduce. I just think that you're a Scorpio rising because I think that you have this like 10th house, this very um like visual, like career oriented, like wanting to be seen, comfortable with being seen aspect of you.
Well, yeah, I'm an influencer.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think your Venus and your moon and Leo are in the 10th house in this place where it's like, where Leo kind of thrives because it's like, here I am
I've
and
always been very
making,
look at me as a
yeah.
kid.
So that's why I think that you are a Scorpio rising, but then the sort of how you might identify personally, how others might not see you so much if you're a Scorpio rising, is this like workaholic, like
Yeah.
just like maybe not, I wouldn't say workaholic all the time. Maybe
But
you
I love
identified
it.
as that at some point, but you're someone who really like I think thrives in a space of like execute, like get things done, execute,
Yeah,
being
I'm a
able to be
copy editor
efficient.
at HuffPost, so
Okay.
it's like last line of defense. I hit the publish button. I
Okay.
write the headline.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I can kill a story. It's kind of
Yeah.
powerful. I love it.
And
But
you're yeah, okay, that's the Mercury Mars
oh,
opposition.
I see.
That is literally because Mercury is the writer, the communication planet, but yeah, it has to do with writing, editing, everything having to do with yeah, those things. That's
Yes.
so funny. Okay.
That's crazy that you pinpointed it by just like characteristics and
Yeah. Well,
experiences.
that's what I mean, like if what I'm describing basically is not just someone who's a Scorpio rising. That's not even close to what I'm describing. What I'm describing is the ruler of your Scorpio rising, which would be Mars in the Aries in the 6th house. And the 6th house is the toil, the work, the day-to-day grind. And Mars thrives there. And so you would be having Mars in its own sign in a place where it thrives. It's retrograde, but still it's very comfortable and it's has resources to do what it needs to do and to get shit done. And I think yeah, someone like you having this Mars, especially with Mercury there opposite it, and the moon's kind of there to fuel it too. It's like the weed like that fuels it, you know what I mean? It's like the fire, like you just can like go, you just probably, and you also have Saturn and Sag. Yeah. you have a lot of that. You don't have a lot of water, except if you're Scorpio rising, it would be that. That's
Mm,
probably, but you have your Virgo sun to kind of keep you grounded, but that's also very mutable, and it's an earth that can move, that can adapt and change really
definitely.
easily.
Definitely.
Yeah, wow. But that's a lot of fire. Do you
I feel
yeah.
it. I'm like actually like after I had my kids, I just became hotter.
Yeah.
Like my temperature is always running hotter.
Mm.
And I also thought maybe it's because I was living in New York so long, my body was just like adapt or die,
Yeah,
you know, because it
yeah.
gets so fucking cold there.
Yeah, oh my god.
And but like I was pregnant with my daughter in the winter of New York. Can you imagine like being like 8 months pregnant,
No.
taking the subway?
That's my best friend just did it. She had her baby on Christmas
Oh
Eve.
my gosh, it was so cold. And then like I
Yes.
was pregnant in March and February. And you know that's
That's
when it's
right.
like
Oh,
it comes down,
that's the
guys.
worst.
Like
That's the worst
February,
time.
March,
That's the
yeah.
worst time, honestly.
So
It's
yeah.
worse than December for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So after like New Year's, forget about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
definitely so like I had to stop going into work because I was like almost fell on the
Oh
ice. Like I'm
god.
fucking like
That's exactly what I'm
huge.
thinking of, because I have like I'm like PTSD memories of like
Yes,
slipping on the
it's
ice.
bad, but like I ended up getting hotter. Like I ended up like being so hot while I was
Wow.
pregnant, which I think like just all the
How old
extra
were you when
weight.
you were pregnant?
I was 24 and I gave birth to her
Okay.
when I was 25.
Okay.
But I got like hotter and then like after my son I got hotter. So like now
Wow.
I can like really go and like next to nothing often if there's no wind and because I'm
Yeah.
usually like sweating. I'm like
Yeah.
burning up. I'm like, how did my
Damn.
heat level rise within
You have
me?
so much fire in your
That makes
chart. I
sense.
mean, you
So
have
now
like
it's
4
I'm always
planets
hot.
in fire. Yeah.
I'd be hot,
5
yo.
actually. Yeah.
Y'all, I'd be hot. I'd be burning. But also I love fire. I'll make s'mores for the kids over the gas
Oh,
stove.
yeah.
Like I fucking love that shit. Like I used to love we used to have like bonfires at school in high school. Like they were teaching us how to like survive and like
Okay, yeah.
nature. So I actually know how to start a fire.
That's cool.
Like without a lighter, you guys. Like
Yeah,
your
that's
girl's gonna
important.
always
That's
have
important.
her fire. So like
Yeah.
I know how to do like get your kindling and everything. Like that's
Wow.
growing up in the country. I grew up in Georgia. So
Yeah.
like they teach you that because like real life you might need that shit
For
if
real,
you
for
fuck around
real.
and get
Maybe
caught.
not in New York City,
Yeah.
but
No, never in New York. I asked like Jared and he was like, make a fire? What? Like why would I need to make a fire? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, where are you going? Like
Yeah.
sidewalks everywhere. Like, that's dumb.
Lighters everywhere.
Lighters everywhere. Rats with lighters. Everybody's got a lighter. So in bars have matches, so you're never without a
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
This has been such a great conversation. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. People, I need to drop this episode immediately. Because people need to know
People
this
need to know.
information.
Well, can I give some like tips about Venus retrograde?
Yes, please give us some tips on how to survive.
How to survive.
Yes, let's title it. Here we go. How to survive.
Venus retrograde 2023. Step 1. No. It's like a YouTube video. No, I think with Venus retrogrades, there's 2 things. I'll talk about the mundane, meaning sort of the worldly aspect of things, which things like writer's strike, there's about to be a SAG, an actor's strike too, I think. Venus rules artists, artisans, people in beauty, um beautiful people, you know what I mean, like women, femmes, and then just like groups of people who are often disfranchised, like things like the Venus retrograde of the spring of 2020, and remember 2020, like what that led into.
Yeah.
Like there's often racial movements or political, like social movements happening during Venus retrograde. So that's one aspect of it that we can expect that's already starting.
Yeah, I see that. I feel that.
Yeah, and Mars is right in Leo right now, and so Mars is kind of kicking up a lot of action. There's a lot of scandal kind of brewing right now
Trump and all of his
already.
indictments,
Yeah,
right?
everything. Yeah, and he's a Leo rising. He
Oh
has Mars in
gosh.
Leo, so Yeah, this is going to be an interesting summer with him for
So
sure.
I can feel it, like it's electric, like it's in the air. Like I literally, I'm at work every day telling everybody like, get ready, like we're about to be working like slaves. Take your vacation now.
I mean, yeah, it's so there's that. And then personally, Venus rules things like, again, our beauty, aesthetic, so and love, what we love, what we're attracted to, and whether that's other people or other things, situations, etc. So there's when Venus is retrograde, there's a reevaluation of all of that, and that tends to come up through our relationships, through our relationship with ourselves and our body and what we look like and what we're attracted to and what we like. And sometimes that comes up in new relationships coming up so you can explore those things and, like, see those questions in real
This
life.
feels on brand.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just more internal, sometimes it's happening through a project you're working on, especially if you're an artist or things like that. So expect there to be a period, July 22nd, September 3rd, but it's going to it's not just those dates, it's starting now. And it'll resolve throughout September, but expect there to be a sort of like reworking, reevaluation, renegotiation, redesigning of something or of many things even in your life. And it's not the best time to try to like push things forward and like, start new things, especially if they're related to like art and things like that. Relationships, like,
Don't start a new relationship during this time.
I mean, you might start a new relationship. I started a relationship. I started talking to someone 3 years ago around this time during a Venus retrograde in Gemini. He's a Gemini. And we don't date anymore, but we're still really close. I was just
Okay.
on the phone with him earlier. Like, um, yeah, so important people can absolutely come into your life during Venus retrogrades. It doesn't mean it's not going to last because it's a Venus retrograde.
Okay.
It's just that it's just knowing that there's something there that you're being shown, about love, relationships, what you love, what you're attracted to, what fills you with pleasure and joy. Like that's what Venus is about.
Mhm.
Um, excuse me, but yeah, just know that. And I think one thing that us astrologers are kind of telling people, yeah, take because of the Venus and Mars situation right
Mhm.
now, it's love and relationships are especially kind of like take t- approach with caution. I don't mean
Mhm.
caution in a way where like someone's going to be bad to you, but
Mhm.
more in a way where I'll explain it just very clearly. Mars is moving through Leo right now. Venus is moving through Leo right now.
Mhm.
They get really close together,
Mhm.
but they never meet up.
Mhm.
Mars is going to keep going into Virgo. Venus is going to stop and go retrograde.
Mhm.
So it's almost like they're like planning on this meetup,
Mhm.
but Venus has a like, oh, I forgot something, or there's something I have to go back and do. And Mars is like, okay, I'll see you later. AKA, they won't meet again until February in Aquarius.
Mm.
So,
Interesting.
so whether you're Mars or your Venus, if you're Scorpio or Aries rising, you're Mars. If you're Taurus or Libra rising, you are Venus. Literally, like that's the planet that represents
Mm.
you and rules you. So, and of course, like, not all of us are ruled by those two planets, but
Mhm.
especially those because those are relationship planets for
Mm.
those those four rising signs. Mars and Venus are your relationship signifiers. So the fact
Mhm.
that they are not meeting up quite yet, it doesn't mean something like you're not going to be together, but an example would be like I have a friend, my ex actually, Libra rising, he's ruled by Venus, and so I his wife lives in Canada
Mhm.
and they're trying to get her out, but she's having these medical issues and she
Mm.
can't, there's free healthcare there. So it's
Mhm.
like they're trying to figure out how to get her out to LA because he just moved
Mm.
to LA. He got a job here and it's good. It's like not very clear. And I'm telling them, like, look, it's probably not going to be until early next
Oh
year.
my gosh.
Because, and you'll be able to come together
Yeah.
and, visit and keep doing that. But like realistically, my professional opinion is that because it's not going to be until Venus and Mars meet up.
Mm.
And finally, kind of complete that. And for him, it'll be in his 7th house of relationships. So yeah, but there's the math
So
to
if
it
people
all.
are having problems in their relationship, it probably won't be resolved until February.
No, not that.
Okay.
The Venus retrograde period is a time to work that stuff out.
To work it out.
And it's going to be a time where you're not going to be able to ignore those problems, basically. Like those things are going to come up to be worked out and worked through. And that's during that retrograde, that Venus and Leo period. And, Venus and Leo, like you have, is about like loving yourself and loving out loud and, being creative and authentic to who you are. I just decided today I'm going to have a party. I haven't thrown a party in a while. I think I'm going to do a Venus and Leo party where you have to like dress up as like your full, like your favorite outfit, like full authentic self, basically.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. So that's the vibe. And it's almost like if you're entering into relationships or situations where that's like your full self is not being honored, then you kind of have an opportunity to like, decide something different. I'll leave it at that. When I get stoned, I can't stop talking about astrology.
Okay. We gotta go. But this is great. And you guys, do with this what you may. I'm gonna get you this episode because this is good. This is crucial information to survive. Like we need to survive. We need to survive.
Yes.
So how can people reach you if they want to know more? Like what's happening next? All those things.
Yeah. Okay. I am at the Astrology on Instagram. You can find my podcast just through my page. Yeah. And I do weekly forecasts. So I tell you like really practical, actionable advice every week. When it's the best time to buy your groceries, when the best days to go on dates, when you should definitely try not to go on a date. I look at every single day and I'll just do all that work for you. So you can just tune on Sundays on YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And yeah, I'm open for readings and my app's coming out probably in like November. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah.
Yay. I'm so excited for you. This is so cool.
Thank you.
I definitely got to tune into your podcast because I need those tips. Like
I'm trying to like get myself to make shorter videos of just like condensed versions for people who don't want to like listen to the astrology of it all. But the podcast is only like 45 minutes usually.
Yeah, that's really good.
Comes out on Sundays and I think it's helpful.
Yes, I love that. Okay, well, this has been you gotta come back for sure.
I'm so down.
Like we gotta do this like at least a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Like at the top and at like so maybe again
once
in
a
the fall.
quarter. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, once a quarter. Like let's re-up. We need this knowledge, you guys, because we need to be prepared for
so
like
down.
in the summer.
I'm so down.
Okay, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. And sharing this spliff. How do you feel?
Great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you, weekenders. All right. Bye, you guys. That's so much. That was great.